February 28, 2026. While most of America was asleep, 900 bombs were dropped on Iran in a single night. According to U.S. officials, President Trump launched America's biggest military operation in decades. The goal was simple: stop Iran from building a nuclear weapon and open one small stretch of water, the Strait of Hormuz, that controls 20% of the entire world's oil supply. Simple plan, right? Go in, so stop the nukes, open the oil, come home. 39 days later, wow. According to multiple reports, the strait is still not fully open. The nuclear material is reportedly still inside Iran, and that number at your gas pump is still going up. So, what actually happened in those 39 days? Because here's the thing. According to reports, Trump never even got Congress's approval before starting this war.
Trump should be able to send troops to war without Congress's approval.
Congress didn't authorize this. No president of any party has the ability on their own to start a war.
He sent them a notification 2 days later, after the bombs had already fallen. Think about it. 13,000 targets hit. Iran's economy should have collapsed. Their system should have crashed. But 39 days later, China is still pulling oil out of Iranian ports, and the U.S. Navy is not stopping them. That question, why, is what this whole story is about. There were secret negotiations that fell apart, a blockade that cracked on day one, a pope who got threatened, and a superpower's own aircraft carrier that quietly went around Africa to avoid a fight.
A second military plane has gone down in the Middle East. The Times reports that an A-10 attack plane also crashed.
This is not just two countries fighting. This is your pocket, your savings, your gas bill, and the real story is nothing like what you've been told. Let's go back. Because this war didn't start on February 28th, it started way earlier, in a country that was already falling apart. December 2025, Iran's economy was dying. Their currency lost 40% of its value. Not in a year. In just a few weeks. Food prices jumped 72%. People couldn't afford basic groceries.
I am worried about a food crisis across the Middle East from a humanitarian perspective, but right now I think Iran and Iraq are the most vulnerable to such a crisis.
Markets up, down, you've got oil prices again, moving sharply.
Think about that for a second. Imagine going to a supermarket and everything costs double. Overnight, the biggest protests in Iran's history exploded onto the streets, and Iran's own government opened fire on its own people. According to estimates, over 30,000 protesters were killed.
Groups are reporting that thousands of anti-government protesters have now been killed across the country, and the death toll is climbing.
Trump watched all of this, and he posted, "Help is on the way." America quietly started moving. Ships, jets, troops. The biggest military buildup in the Middle East since the Iraq War in 2003. But here's where it gets interesting. Just one single day before the bombs fell, Oman's finance minister stood in front of cameras and told the world a peace deal between America and Iran is within reach.
I think there is really, I can see that the peace deal is within our reach.
Within reach, the very next morning, 900 bombs. According to the Washington Post, this attack had been planned for months. Allegedly, Saudi Arabia and Israel had both been privately pushing Trump to pull the trigger.
Huge. This is huge, Sandeep. The fact that Washington Post is now reporting it wasn't just Israel, but Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is seen as defender of the faith. So the defender of the faith also wanted Iran to be targeted.
Here's the part that almost nobody is talking about. Trump never asked Congress for permission. Not before, not during. He sent them a written notification 2 days after the bombs had already fallen. February 28th, Operation Epic Fury.
Launched Operation Epic Fury.
Operation Epic Fury.
In Operation Epic Fury.
According to U.S. officials, over 2,000 targets hit across Iran in the first wave alone.
And we've already struck nearly 2,000 targets with more than 2,000 munitions.
Nuclear facilities, missile factories, air defense systems, radar stations, and then the one strike that changed everything. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, killed in his own office.
حضرت آیت الله العظما سید علی حسینی خامنه‌ای در راه سربلندی حرم جمهوری اسلامی ایران شهد گوارای شهادت را نوشیدند.
Daughter, his son-in-law, his granddaughter. All gone in the same strike. Iran state TV confirmed it themselves. Iran announced 40 days of national mourning. Trump said, "The people that make all the decisions, most of them are gone." America expected Iran to give up. They didn't. Iran fired back immediately. They called it Operation True Promise 4. 27 American military bases across 9 different countries, all hit at the same time. The U.S. 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, direct hit. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Kuwait. Missiles raining down on cities where millions of regular people live and work. Dubai airport evacuated. Burj Khalifa area, drones being intercepted overhead. According to official sources, Iran fired over 1,100 missiles at UAE alone. Most were intercepted, but the debris, which still fell on hotels, on roads, on people, and think about who actually lives in these cities. Millions of regular working people, people who had nothing to do with any of this, suddenly caught in the middle of a war they never chose. But Iran wasn't done. They saved their biggest move for last, the Strait of Hormuz. Here's how to understand this place. Imagine there's one single highway, just one, that connects your city's only gas station to the rest of the world. Every car, every truck, every plane. Everything runs on what comes through that one highway. Now imagine someone puts a padlock on it. That's exactly what Iran did. They mined the strait, closed it down. 20% of the entire world's oil supply, but suddenly had nowhere to go. And within weeks, gas prices in America spiked 21% in a single month. The largest single monthly increase since 1967. That number you saw at the pump? That was this. Then, after 39 straight days of bombing, Pakistan stepped in. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif picked up the phone, talked to both sides, and on April 8th, a ceasefire was announced. 2 weeks. Fragile, but real. Talks would happen in Islamabad, Pakistan. America and Iran sitting in the same room for the first time. And what happened in that room changed everything. April 11th, 2026. Islamabad, Pakistan. The most important meeting of this entire war. Both sides, finally, in the same room. Iran arrived first. Foreign Minister Araghchi, Parliament Speaker Kalibaf, senior national security advisors, military strategists. A full team of Iran's most experienced diplomats, people who had spent their entire careers negotiating. Pakistan's military greeted them with full honors. Red carpet, guard of honor, handshakes, and smiles. They looked like they had already won. Then America arrived. Vice President J.D. Vance, Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, a real estate developer from New York. Steve Witkoff, another businessman, another friend of Trump from his real estate days. Think about it. Iran brought its entire foreign policy machine. America brought family. Now, I'm not saying they aren't capable people, but look at this from Iran's perspective. You just survived 900 bombs. Your supreme leader was killed. Your cities were hit. And the country that did all of that sent a real estate developer to negotiate with you. What signal does that send? The talks began, and they went for 21 hours straight. 21 hours. No sleep. No deal. Now, Do you want to know what actually happened inside that room? America came in with 3 things they absolutely needed. The first one, Vice President J.D. Vance called it the dust.
The first of those things, what some people call the dust, which is the enriched uranium that the Iranians currently possess.
Think of it like this. Uranium enrichment is like charging a battery. The more you charge it, the closer it gets to being a nuclear weapon. Iran had been charging that battery for years. America's demand was simple. Take that battery, remove it physically from Iran, ship it out, gone. Their second demand, a permanent verification system. International inspectors inside Iran, forever, making sure that battery never gets charged again. And their third demand, the Strait of Hormuz fully open. No tolls, no Iranian control, free passage for every ship in the world. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because Iran had its own list. Wanted to keep their ballistic missiles. America just spent 39 days bombing Iran. And Iran is sitting across the table saying, we're keeping our missiles. They also wanted the long-term right to enrich uranium. Full removal of all sanctions. War reparations, meaning America pays for every building its bombs destroyed. And then, the one demand that made everyone's jaw drop. Control over the Strait of Hormuz. By charging every single oil tanker $2 million just to pass through.
Shining a light on the Strait of Hormuz, that critical passageway for the world's oil supply. Iran is forcing some oil tankers to pay millions of dollars to travel through a new narrow passage in the strait, which is controlled by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard.
$2 million per ship. Every tanker going to Japan, $2 million. Every tanker heading to Germany, $2 million. Every tanker carrying oil to India, South Korea, France, $2 million. U.S. Navy called it protection money. Iran called it a toll. There's a word for when someone blocks a road, then charges you to use it. You already know that word. But here's where the real twist is. According to reports, Iran was actually moving. Slowly, but moving. They had agreed to a 10-point negotiation framework, or small steps, both sides giving a little, and then Trump changed the rules.
The Iranians originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage by President Trump and his negotiating team. Many outlets in this room have falsely reported on that plan as being acceptable to the United States, and that is false. With the president's deadline
midway through the talks, according to multiple reports, America's position suddenly shifted. Earlier, the demand was pause enrichment for a few years. Now suddenly, give up enrichment rights. Forever. Permanently. Never again. Iran's foreign minister later described it like this. We encountered maximalism and shifting goalposts. In simple words, imagine you agree to buy a car for one price. You show up with the money. And the seller says, actually, the price just doubled. Would you sign that deal? The talks collapsed. Both sides walked out, and within 48 hours, Trump announced the blockade. April 13, 2026. 15 American warships surrounding Iranian waters. According to analysts, the blockade was costing Iran an estimated $400 million every single day. Iran's oil storage, experts said, would last maybe 2 weeks before they'd be forced to shut down their own oil wells. Fox News called it a masterstroke. Markets reacted positively. Smart money thought it would work. But then, and something happened that almost nobody covered. A Chinese oil tanker, the Rich Starry, sailed directly through the American blockade in broad daylight. And the U.S. Navy did absolutely nothing. Al Jazeera confirmed it. Reuters confirmed it. The ship passed. The blockade didn't move. Why? Because China had already sent a very clear warning. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said, the U.S. blockade is dangerous and irresponsible. It goes against the interests of the entire international community.
This will only aggravate confrontation, escalate tension, undermine the already fragile ceasefire, and further jeopardize safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. It is a dangerous and irresponsible move.
And President Xi Jinping, meeting with Arab leaders that same week, told the world cannot go back to the law of the jungle. Think about what that means. The Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, one of America's closest Middle Eastern allies, was in Beijing. Not Washington, Beijing. And here's the contradiction nobody wants to say out loud. Trump told reporters, "Xi will give me a big fat hug when the strait opens." Same day, China's foreign ministry called the blockade dangerous and irresponsible. Both statements. Same day, so which one is true? And then, just when you thought this couldn't get any stranger, the Pope got involved. Pope Leo XIV, an American, born in Chicago. The first American pope in the history of the Catholic Church. He stood up at a prayer vigil in front of the entire world and said, "Enough of war. True strength is shown in serving life." Called this moment a delusion of omnipotence. Now, Trump responded the way Trump responds. He went on Truth Social and said the Pope was weak on crime and terrible on foreign policy. But according to reports, it didn't stop there. The Trump administration reportedly summoned the Pope's top ambassador to America and delivered a message that referenced something called the Avignon Papacy. Now, what is that? Simple explanation. 700 years ago, a French king kidnapped the Pope, took him out of Rome, controlled him completely for decades. According to reports, the message delivered to the Vatican was, if the Pope doesn't stop talking, prepare for an Avignon Papacy. The Pope's response? He kept talking. I am not intimidated. Pope Leo's approval rating among Americans, 80%. Trump's in the high 30s. And here's the question that leads us to the final part of this story. If Iran was supposedly defeated, why is the strait still closed? Why did the blockade crack on day one? Why are Arab leaders flying to Beijing instead of Washington? And why, on the same morning, Trump said the war was almost over? Did he also announce a full naval blockade? Two completely opposite moves. Same president, same morning. Something doesn't add up. 21 miles? That's it. Not 100 miles, not 500. Just 21 miles of water. And the entire world, every country that heats a home, drives a car, runs a factory, is hostage to what happens in those 21 miles. Now let's talk about what this war actually cost. Not in strategy, not in politics, in people. According to official reports, at least 13 to 15 American soldiers lost their lives. 300 more were wounded. Some independent reports suggest those numbers could be higher, though exact figures have not been fully confirmed by the Pentagon. On the Iranian side, according to various reports, thousands of civilians were killed, including, according to reports, children at a school in the city of Minab, a primary school. During the day, when it was full,
aggressors have also targeted a school in the city of Minab, Hormozgan province, killing more than 100 children. The number of innocent civilians continues to rise. This is not only an act of aggression, it is a war crime.
Here's what I want to leave you with. Not a summary, not a verdict, just a question. A war was launched to open 21 miles of water. Those 21 miles are still not fully open. A war was launched to remove a nuclear threat. That material is reportedly still there. Thousands of lives were lost. Billions of dollars were spent, and the closest allies quietly flew to Beijing. So here is the only question that matters. Not who fired first, not who has the bigger navy. When the smoke clears and the history books are written, whose name will be in the chapter called winner? That's all for this video, guys. This story is still unfolding. New talks could happen any day. Every move, every statement, every ship that passes through those 21 miles will tell us more about where this is all heading. We will talk about all of it in the next video. Until then, stay informed. Stay curious. And remember, the most dangerous thing in the world is a story that only has one side.